Hey guys, welcome back to Rossoneri TV. I'm Joe and I'm here for the match review of Atalanta against AC Milan. Match I finished moments ago at the Stadio Atleti d'Azzurri d'Italia with the final score of 1-1. Goals coming in from Conti for Atalanta and Deulofeu just moments away from the final whistle, like we have seen several times this season at the 87th minute with the equalizing goal. Not a good game for Milan at all today, despite the slightly encouraging scoreline, as we are still going to be ahead of Fiorentina and Inter at the end of this match day. But in terms of the performance, it was absolutely horrible, terrible performance in which I believe Atalanta was all over us, and I think they fully deserved to win this game instead. I'm saying this as a Milanista, as a fan that has an actual vision of the game, but today Milan did not do much. Atalanta was actually all over us. They created a lot more. They pushed a lot more, and I think personally they were the hungriest of the two teams to actually win this game. It was a very delicate game going in it with lots of tension, lots of risk, because one mistake could lead to another, and this was definitely a match that both teams could not afford to lose. So I'm happy that Milan in the end managed to get the goal, that proved to be the equalizer, and they rescued a very precious point. But the performance itself was absolutely not a performance in which you would normally see a team that is competing for the Europa League qualifications to undertake. So Milan needs to do better. I've been saying this all season round, but today it was once again a prime example of their team performance not being good enough, and definitely not satisfying enough. And I think every Milan fan that actually watched that game could possibly say that, the performance and the result itself was not satisfying enough. Sure, I'm happy with the goal that Deulofeu got, even though it was a bit controversial. In my opinion, it could have been offside from the looks of it, but at the end of the day, the linesman gave us a gift for once. How many times do we have to give gifts to others? So I'm not complaining for sure. But still, we need to do better. There's 2 games remaining. A game against Bologna and the game against Cagliari. Next week, Fiorentina face Napoli, so that's good to see on paper, but we need to make sure that we finally get out of this negative slump where we haven't won in the past 5 games, and actually go out there and beat Bologna at home. Because I think if we don't win that match, then our Europa League hopes could pretty much be gone. Even though we are leading Fiorentina and Inter at the moment, I still think that we need to win that match no matter what. Now, I want to briefly speak about the players for today, the formation, because there was a lot of change. There was a lot of things that maybe a lot of people weren't expecting, especially the ones that weren't capable to watch this match. But Montella finally went in with a 3-5-2, and obviously things haven't been the best in recent games, where we weren't capable of winning, and a lot of people were actually criticizing Montella for not having a plan B, for not having a change of tactics, a change of lineup, a change of formation. Well, he finally implemented this 3-5-2 today, going in with a backline of 3, with a very condensed midfield, and Lapadula and Deulofeu up front. Now in the back 3, we saw Zapata, Gomez, and Romagnoli. Romagnoli finally coming back from injury, and I think he was possibly the best out of those 3. Gustavo Gomez, unfortunately, I think that right side, like I was mentioning time and time again in the watch along, that right side was having a lot of trouble containing Papu Gomez or Petagna. Every time someone was trying to break through on that right flank, it was just so easy for them. Gomez and even Kuchka weren't able to contain those runs. They weren't able to close the spaces. They weren't capable of really blocking the Atalanta players from getting through. And I think that was pretty much the reason as to why the Atalanta goal originated. Then again, Gomez did come out sometimes. He had a decent match, came out, had some good clearances, some good tackles, but not good enough in terms of a defensive player. Zapata, same thing could be said about him. He had some good, decent clearances, some good challenges, but his decision making is just so slow. And like I was speaking to Azem at halftime, I was telling him that he's just so slow in his decision making. Every time he has the ball at his feet, he thinks 10 seconds before making his next move, and you cannot have the guys like that playing for your team. So Zapata, he's not a player that I would start. He's not a player that gives me that certainty that's gonna, boost my my thinking, because every time I see every time I see Zapata in the starting lineup, especially in the back three, it's like the blood boils in me, and it's just not a very good sight to watch. But then again, Zapata, we know what he's capable of. We know what he has done in recent years in terms of stupidities and stuff that he hasn't been able to accomplish. So we shouldn't be surprised of what Zapata did today. Donnarumma, on the other hand, I haven't spoken about him yet. Stellar performance from him again. Beside that goal that I think he should have done better with, he made a tremendous save on Papu Gomez right before that goal. Like I said, the goal, he should have held on to it. It's unfortunate that he didn't. He should have done a bit better. But then also, what a stunning save he made against Kessie in the second half to deny him. And that goal could have possibly gave Atalanta, the match point. I think it would have. And we would have been speaking about a whole different game now. But stellar save from Donnarumma. Good performance for him, besides that goal that he let in. For the midfield, Kuchka, I have to say, was possibly the worst player in the team today. Very, very weak, especially as a right wide midfielder. We were speaking about this a lot yesterday and today. To see Suso and Kuchka not having their roles swapped, I would have preferred to see Suso more wide than Kuchka. But Kuchka today was an absolutely nightmare of a performance for him. Really didn't appreciate what he showed today. He could have done better for sure, but nothing really going for. There was nothing going for Kuchka today. He was not able to help out Gomez, and that's primarily why he was even in that role. Offensively, didn't really create anything, didn't do much, and I don't think Kuchka should have been playing in that position today. Suso did quite well. I think he was possibly the more vibrant of the midfield players, if you want to call it that. Montolivo finally returned from injury today, and I have to say, for a guy that's missed the past 6-7 months, he wasn't bad, okay? He didn't create the craziest play. He didn't create the most extravagant chance for Milan. But in terms of keeping the ball and moving it around, he was okay. He wasn't great. He was just okay. Paslic as well, not a good performance from him. Beside that only chance that he got at the beginning of the second half with the header, I think he could have done better himself. He was pretty much invisible. He was like a ghost today. He should have done better. De Chilio, defensively, still has his faults. His decision making is still not the best. But what I saw from him today was finally a little light bulb lightening up. And I say this because as a wide midfielder today, a position in which he's very familiar with, since he was playing in that position, that role for the Azzurri, he was finally, making runs. He was finally cutting through spaces, making himself available in that regard. Then, of course, the crossing and the passing and so forth, that's another story. But in terms of movements, things were getting way better for De Chilio. So I do appreciate that, but he needs to work on every other aspect that I mentioned there, in which he lacked on. As for Deulofeu, he got the goal. Very happy for him. Even though, like I said before, it was a bit of a controversial goal, since I think it was a bit offside, he still managed to gain a very precious point point for Milan that could hopefully go a long way. So I'm very happy for his goal. Lapadula gave him the assist. And it was a nice assist because he waited for it rather than just rushing the play. Speaking about Lapadula, today he didn't create too much. He had a few good opportunities for him, but he didn't manage to finish them. But he keeps on running. He keeps, fighting for the team. Even though he doesn't have the best performances, you can see he's a bit of a warrior. And I like that mentality, but, at the end of the day, you need to show that you're also capable of getting your job done. And his job is to score goals. So he needs to work on that as well. We also saw Bacca coming on for about 30 minutes. He really didn't show much today. And I was actually reading a funny report. And they were saying as Bacca seems to be more mad that he's not been getting playing time. But now that he got the playing time, it seemed like he was more depressed. That's what it seemed like. But I completely agree, I don't know. I don't think Bacca has the right mindset to play in this team anymore. And he might be helping Milan in the next 2 games, but I think his time at Milan is done. This is the last that we're going to be seeing of him. The last 2 games that we're going to be seeing of him. Because I can't really expect Bacca to stay at Milan for another season. I just can't. So that's pretty much my thoughts on the player performances. In general, like I said, not the best of games. Actually, the performance was not good at all. We only managed to get 4 shots on target, apparently, according to the stats. And most of those shots were very, very weak shots where Berisha had really no problems. Atalanta, like I mentioned before, deserved more. And I think a point for them is pretty good as well because I think they're just maybe a point from securing Europa League. So, yeah, they're okay with that. They don't really mind it. Obviously, a win was going to seal the deal. But chances are that they have qualified for the Europa League nonetheless. So, that's that. Now, I'm going to be reading your comments for the next 5 to 10 minutes. So, if you guys want to share your opinions, your thoughts on the match, make sure that you guys leave your thoughts in the comments section. A lot of you guys are speaking about Montella, and a lot of you guys are probably complaining about him. I understand where you guys are going, but also the team is not good, guys. Lots of players don't deserve to play in this team, and that's why I said we need a complete rebuild of a lot of players. A lot of players need to leave. A lot of new players need to come in. Good quality players, not mediocre, decent players. We need more. We need better. That's what we need. Pix Flicks Production says this was probably the most boring game I've seen all season. For most of the game, it was as if we weren't even trying, which is very, very true. Atalanta weren't even that good tonight. We were just that shit. And honestly, I completely agree with that. Why? Because we let Atalanta play. Many times I see our players just walking around the pitch, such as Kuchka today. A very embarrassing showing from Kuchka. You cannot just let Atalanta play like that. And I agree with you. They weren't the best team. It's not like they were playing as a Juventus tonight or a Napoli. They were doing good because we were allowing them to do good. And I completely agree with that. The performances, it's not only this week. Against Pescara, against Crotone, against Inter. Guys, come on. It's not one game now. It's every game like that. And it just seems like they don't care. Like you said, they're Pix Flicks. It's as if they weren't even trying. And I completely could see that. And I saw that. It was wasn't good. Wasn't good enough today. Wasn't good enough at all. Marco Wang says, are you going to do Skype calls again, Gio? Not today because I'm actually in a rush. But next time we probably will. MacArthur says, what's the point to reborn and try to be the team we used to be, making the same mistake in the last years, firing coaches? That's a good point. We need better players. And I've said this even a few years ago, guys. It's not necessarily the coaches because the coaches change, but the results are always the same. So it has to be something with the players then. Macaroni, which I haven't seen in a very long time, says, I actually thought today was alright. Better than past weeks. The 1 point keeps us in 6th, which is huge. A loss might mean we go to 7th depending on Inter tomorrow. Yeah, you're right. Because if we lost this game, Inter would have surpassed us even if they win tomorrow's game against Sassuolo. But that won't be the case, and we'll still have a very small advantage over Fiorentina and Inter at the end of this week, and everything will be to played for against Bologna and Cagliari, which are teams that they're not doing well, but then again, we failed against Crotone and Pescara, so we must be careful. Moving on, James Murray says, what do you think the main positions for improvement are? Everywhere, man. Everywhere. Attack, midfield, defense, everywhere. We need improvements everywhere. Milan fan says 3-5-2 is not for Milan. We couldn't play with this formation. When the second half we changed to a 4-3-3, we started to play much more better. Yeah, well, I actually thought it was a 3-4-3 at one point, but I think it was also changed to a 4-3-3 when Bacca came on. But I agree, the 3-5-2 at this moment, I don't think it's a formation for Milan, simply because we don't have the players to play for that formation. Our players are mediocre at best. The defense, just look at the defense. Gomez, Zapata, guys, these are not players that I would field in a three-man defense. Midfield as well, it's not very good. We should be doing better than that. We cannot like guarantee results with a midfield like that. So a 3-5-2 could be a formation that could work in the future, definitely, but with the right players. With the players we have right now, I simply don't think so. Marco also says we play like a bottle table team. No fighting spirit, no team play. It's like the FIFA single player mode where you control only one player. Atalanta was too kind to let us take away 1 point. Jamie says at least we will have Paletta next game, and maybe we'll get more used to the tactics information and fix a few issues that we had today. Simply, I don't think Montella will continue with this 3-5-2. I think it was more of an experiment he wanted to do. Not the game that I will personally experiment with for this formation, but I think it was a one-time thing. I think I'll be going back to that 4-3-3 next game, but we'll once again have to see. Jarig Andy says, will you do the transfer news in the summer? Definitely. We have already started the transfer news recaps. If you guys have missed it, now it's May still, so we're doing one video a week for the transfer news where we just recap the news in general. Once June kicks off, we'll be doing a bit more videos a week to speak about the latest transfer news. And then finally, when July comes, when the transfer window kicks off, most likely we'll be making daily videos if time permits. Finally, 1 or 2 more questions. Jamie says, Kessie's amazing. We really need to finalize this deal to get a beast in the midfield, and I do agree. I think Kessie had a very good game today. Very strong, very physical in that midfield, and I think we're missing a type of guy that could also create and score goals like he does, but at the same time, he has a physical presence. What a shot he took on Donnarumma today. I'm not sure how Donnarumma saved that, but really, it was great. He had a good performance. He really did, and I think that if we do manage to get him, it will be a good addition altogether. So we'll see what the next few weeks have in store for him. Pixflix says, I think Gustavo Gomez should play over Zapata. I'm sorry, but Zapata's time here is finished. How he's still here, I have no idea. Yeah, Zapata is not a player that's going to be staying here. I think Gustavo Gomez and Zapata could possibly leave this summer. At the moment, I will still keep Paletta and Romagnoli as the center backs. But when Musacchio comes in, that's going to have to be Musacchio and Romagnoli, with Paletta possibly being a substitute for them. One more question. Bas says, would you keep Pasalic for next year because mids like Fabregas and Luis Gustavo will be coming in? It's not for sure that they're coming in, first of all. Yes, we're rumored with them, but it's not for sure that they're still coming in. If they don't, I would keep Pasalic just because he's young. He hasn't had that bad of a season. He's actually been decent, but we need more than decent. So yeah, if those guys come in, definitely I would send back Pasalic to Chelsea. But if they don't, I would consider keeping him. But we definitely need more quality, bigger names, and much more experience for sure in that midfield. So guys, that's gonna wrap it up for the match review. Thank you all for joining me for the review and also for the live stream watch along. If you haven't yet, please subscribe to Rossoneri TV to stay updated with everything going on at AC Milan. Don't forget to leave a like on the video, and I'll be catching you guys later for yet another one. This has been Gio, signing off, and as always, Forza Milan.